Light Yagami, the main character of Death Note, is the embodiment of a complete genius. Not only does he possess an extraordinary intellect, but he is also a master of psychological manipulation. From the very first episodes, he demonstrated his exceptional ability to calculate every move, exploiting every single rule of the Death Note to craft a grand strategy of purging the world, positioning himself as a self-proclaimed judge who calls himself Justice. From the beginning, Light showcased his brilliance by exploiting loopholes within the Death Note's rules. He realized that by writing the cause and time of death first, and only afterward writing the victim's name, he could create a flawless alibi. This not only allowed him to avoid suspicion, but also misled the police into a labyrinth of cases that seemed impossible to explain. When L placed him under suspicion, Light did not panic. Instead, he launched a counter-strategy of astonishing precision. Light deliberately allowed Misa Amane, a girl infatuated with him who also possessed a Death Note, to come into L's sight. After that, Light manipulated Misa into relinquishing ownership of her Death Note, erasing all her memories connected to it. He did the same himself, not to escape, but to wait for the perfect moment to restore his memories and regain full control. Both were detained. Both had no memories. And that very fact became the strongest proof to clear their names from the list of suspects. During that time, a fake Kira, one prepared within Light's plan, continued killing, forcing L to reconsider his entire theory. Once released, Light pretended to join the investigation alongside L, while secretly waiting for the single chance to touch the Death Note again, recover his memories, and continue his mission. But Light's genius was not limited to manipulating the police. He manipulated even the Shinigami themselves. He knew Misa would willingly trade half of her lifespan for the Shinigami Eyes, the power to see anyone's real name. More importantly, Light exploited the Bond Rem, the Shinigami who accompanied Misa, held for her. When L began to corner and endanger Misa, Light constructed a scenario where Rem had only one option left: to kill L in order to protect Misa, fully aware that doing so would erase Rem's existence. With this move, Light not only eliminated his greatest rival, but also safeguarded his ally and regained ownership of the Death Note. One move, 3 victories. L dies, Misa lives, and Light ascends as L's successor within the investigation team. But this time, he is no longer a suspect. He is the one controlling the game, continuing the killings under the name of Kira, all while wearing the face of justice. Ayanokoji Kiyotaka from Classroom of the Elite isn't the type of genius who seeks attention or glory. During the entrance exam, he scored exactly 50% in every subject, deliberately crafting the image of an average student. But if you think about it, maintaining a perfectly balanced score across all subjects is actually harder than achieving a perfect score. Born and raised in the White Room, an underground facility designed to eliminate emotion and forge children into the ultimate beings of intellect, physique, and psychology, Ayanokoji is its most perfect creation. With a photographic memory, machine-like analytical ability, and chilling emotional detachment, he resembles a humanoid AI more than a high school student. During the island survival test, Ayanokoji never showed himself. He let Horikita stand as the front, making everyone believe she was the true leader, while he silently controlled the entire situation from the shadows. Ayanokoji exploited Horikita's declining health as a valid justification to officially change the class leader, while secretly arranging for Ibuki Ryuen's spy to steal the card exactly according to his plan. While the other classes believed they had obtained the real information, Ayanokoji had already switched the actual leader without anyone realizing it. In the end, Class D claimed victory, surpassing both Class A and Class B, and completely defeating Ryuen's Class C. What makes Ayanokoji truly terrifying isn't brute strength, but his ability to control every outcome without leaving a single trace. Every move, every reaction, every result unfolds exactly as he intends. To him, other people are neither allies nor enemies, merely pieces on a chessboard designed and ruled entirely by him. Norman from the Promised Neverland was the most exceptional child at Grace Fieldhouse, not because of his strength or agility, but because of his terrifyingly sharp intellect. At just 12 years old, he could observe the tiniest details from subtle facial expressions to the repetitive habits of the caretakers and deduce the truth behind them. When Emma and Norman discovered that Gracefield was actually a human farm, raising children as food for demons, Norman didn't panic. Instead, he immediately began formulating a plan. He was the first to deduce that each child had a tracking device implanted in their ear. To confirm his theory, Norman staged a fake escape. When Mama, Isabella, appeared within minutes, his hypothesis was proven correct. Norman missed nothing. The basket Isabella always carried, the one-way design of the gate, even measuring the wall height using a simple stick to calculate escape routes. Each tiny clue became a piece in his meticulously crafted plan, a plan executed with a calmness far beyond his years. Though everyone believed Norman had been shipped out, meaning taken to be fed to the demons, the truth was far darker. He was transferred to Lambda 7214, a secret experimental facility where gifted children were injected with drugs, monitored, and used as research subjects. Rather than breaking down, Norman pretended to comply. He quietly studied the procedures, learned the drug formulas, and analyzed the facility's control systems. Over time, he gained the trust of others, united the surviving children, and eventually led a full-scale rebellion to free them all. From a seemingly innocent orphan who once played tag in the orphanage courtyard, Norman endured hell, built his own faction, and rose to become one of the most influential figures in the war between humans and demons. His survival wasn't luck. It was the product of a cold, calculating genius, unwavering determination, and an indomitable will. Katagiri Yuichi from Tomodachi Game isn't a bookish genius or a prodigy of combat. He's a master of emotional intelligence, with an estimated IQ between 140 and 150. Yet what makes Yuichi truly dangerous lies in his uncanny ability to read, predict, and manipulate human psychology. In the twisted world of Tomodachi Game, where friendship is wagered and betrayal is inevitable, Yuichi stands out as something beyond human, a monster born from reason and deceit. He rarely acts directly. Instead, he makes his opponents willingly walk into traps, often believing it was their own decision. Yuichi excels at pretending to be clueless, disarming others with a facade of innocence only to flip the entire situation in a single calculated move. The higher the emotional stakes, the colder and sharper his mind becomes, turning every breakdown of trust into an opportunity for domination. The game that best showcases Yuichi's talent for manipulation is the friendship gamble aboard the cruise ship. In this game, players can sell out their teammates for money, and every bet must be handwritten and signed. Yuichi adopts a double-sided betting strategy, cleverly sowing distrust among factions and luring opponents into traps of their own making. When chaos erupts and everyone lets their guard down, those signed agreements become binding evidence, allowing Yuichi to seize the entire pot even if he appears to have lost. Yuichi's terrifying nature can be traced back to his childhood. He was raised by a professional con artist named Taizen Shiba, who taught him every psychological trick and how to exploit human weakness without remorse. Yet, he was also nurtured by a gentle foster mother filled with warmth and compassion. These two extremes forged a duality within Yuichi, a mind capable of deep empathy, yet entirely willing to destroy anyone who dares stand in his way. Ranpo Itogawa, the genius detective without a gift in Bungo Stray Dogs. In a world overflowing with supernatural powers and gifted individuals, Ranpo stands as a true anomaly. He possesses no ability whatsoever. The only thing he has is an extraordinary mind, a level of deductive reasoning so far beyond human capability that people genuinely believe it's a supernatural gift. From his very first case, when both the police and the armed detective agency were stumped by a locked room murder, Ranpo effortlessly solved it in minutes. By observing minor details, a slightly misaligned chair, faint dust marks on the floor, and the vague expression of a witness, he identified the culprit instantly. Not only did he name the killer, but he also reconstructed the entire crime, how the objects were moved, how the scene was staged, and what psychological motive drove the act, leaving the perpetrator with no choice but to confess. What makes Ranpo truly terrifying isn't his ability to find clear evidence, but rather his talent for uncovering the truth when no evidence exists at all. In the case of rescuing Fukuzawa and Mushitaro, it was the perfection of the crime scene that raised Ranpo's suspicion. He ignored the physical evidence and placed himself in the culprit's position. If I were the killer, how would I stage this scenario? From that perspective, he uncovered the entire scheme and saved his comrades just in time. Ranpo doesn't need weapons, nor does he need supernatural powers. His intellect itself is the most powerful gift of all. Armin Arlert. Armin from Attack on Titan was never the strongest soldier, nor the most skilled fighter. But in the brutal world of Attack on Titan, he became humanity's greatest strategist, the mind that kept them alive. His intelligence, composure, and unmatched capacity for reasoning were his true weapons. From the very first battle at Trost District, when the Titans breached the wall and panic spread through the ranks as fuel supplies ran low, Armin stayed calm. He devised the plan to protect the supply depot and proposed a daring idea, using Eren's Titan power to move a massive boulder and seal the gate. That single strategy not only saved Trost from collapse, but also marked the beginning of Armin's role as the brain behind humanity's survival. Over the years, Armin continued to prove his exceptional analytical skill. He was the first to deduce the identity of the female Titan Annie Leonhardt and later helped expose Rainer Braun and Bertolt Hoover as the armored and colossal titans. During the operation to retake Wall Maria, Armin once again shone identifying Reiner's hiding spot within the wall and saving his comrades from a fatal ambush. His finest moment as a strategist came in the Battle of Shiganshina. Facing the overwhelming might of the colossal titan, Armin realized its fatal weakness. Bertolt couldn't sustain the intense heat surrounding his body for long. Knowing full well the cost, Armin sacrificed himself enduring the flames to buy precious seconds for Eren to strike the final blow. In that moment, the timid boy who once stood behind his friends became the hero of humanity. And in the final battle, when Eren became the founding titan and unleashed the rumbling, Armin once again demonstrated that true power doesn't lie in brute strength, but in intellect. He quickly deduced that the key to victory wasn't attacking Eren head-on, but severing his connection with Zeke Yeager, the one sustaining the founding titan's power. Even when trapped inside the paths, Armin stayed composed, reasoning with Zeke and rallying the past titans to aid humanity. From a shy boy standing in the shadows to humanity's most brilliant tactician, Armin Arlert proved that in a world ruled by monsters and destruction, sometimes the sharpest weapon isn't a blade, it's the mind. Senku Ishigami is. Senku Ishigami in Dr. Stone. In a world where all of humanity has been petrified for 3,700 years, Senku Ishigami is the very first human to awaken. He possesses no superpowers, no combat ability. The only weapon at his disposal is a brilliant scientific mind and an unyielding will. From the moment he opened his eyes in the stone world, Senku began rebuilding human civilization from absolute zero. He even calculated the exact number of seconds that had passed during those 3,700 years, a feat that demonstrates an almost superhuman level of focus and perseverance. With his vast knowledge spanning chemistry, physics, biology, and engineering, Senku recreated everything from telecommunication devices and antibiotics to batteries and the revival fluid capable of reversing petrification. In the Treasure Island arc, one of the greatest showcases of science and strategy, Senku and his allies face off against Ibara, the man who possesses the Medusa, a mysterious device capable of emitting an energy wave that petrifies living beings upon activation. Even after most of his comrades are turned to stone, Senku remains calm and begins formulating what he calls the beauty contest strategy. He crafts cosmetics and fragrances to allow Amaryllis and Kohaku to infiltrate the enemy stronghold, exploiting the opponent's ignorance of science to create miracles that seem like magic to their primitive society. Senku also uncovers a crucial detail. Mos, Ibara's loyal enforcer, can be swayed under the right conditions. By supplying him with scientific weapons and giving remote tactical guidance, Senku turns Mos into an unpredictable element that flips the tide of battle. The climax comes when Senku identifies the Medusa's 1 meter per second activation radius. He instantly calculates its range and delay, using a mirror-based reflection to redirect the petrification beam, causing Ibara to petrify himself. This victory not only ends the conflict but also secures platinum, the key resource needed to ensure the Kingdom of Science's future. Senku Ishigami is the embodiment of the philosophy that knowledge is power. He doesn't just create scientific miracles, he inspires others, turning ordinary people into true partners in rebuilding civilization. If the world ever needed one person to lead humanity out of the Age of Stone and into a new dawn, that person would undoubtedly be Senku Ishigami. Shikamaru Nara. When it comes to intelligence, few names in Naruto stand out as much as the Nara clan, and especially Shikamaru Nara. From a young age, he was known as a lazy kid who preferred cloud watching, napping, and avoiding anything troublesome. Yet behind that laid-back demeanor hid a strategic genius, with an IQ confirmed by Asuma Sarutobi to be over 200. Shikamaru wasn't strong physically, but he possessed the rare ability to analyze the battlefield, read his opponent, and plan several steps ahead. During the Chunin exams, when facing Temari, a ninja superior in both strength and range, Shikamaru used light, terrain, and tree shadows to expand the reach of his shadow possession jutsu, setting up traps with meticulous precision. And when only one more move would have secured victory, he chose to surrender, simply because he thought continuing the fight was too troublesome. Nevertheless, that exceptional strategic thinking made him the only genin of his generation to be promoted to Chunin after the exams. The proctors realized that although he wasn't the strongest, he was the one who could lead a team to victory through intellect, displaying a rare and genuine leadership quality. Later on, Shikamaru became the chief strategist during the Fourth Great Ninja War. When many experienced captains had fallen or gone missing, he was the one who coordinated the entire allied shinobi forces, issuing logical, adaptable plans that reduced casualties to the minimum. Although he often avoided responsibility, whenever the matter concerned his loved ones or his personal honor, Shikamaru became terrifyingly decisive. His fight against Hidan is a perfect example. Even though Hidan was immortal, Shikamaru calculated every possibility, deceived him into a trap, and buried him alive underground. By the end of the story, Shikamaru went on to become Naruto Uzumaki's most trusted aide, serving as his chief advisor, and in the era of Boruto, Naruto Next Generations, Shikamaru eventually rose to the position of the 8th Hokage. Johan Liebert is the embodiment of absolute darkness. He's not a combat genius nor an inventor. What Johan possesses is an extreme psychological intelligence, the ability to understand human nature so deeply that he can shatter a person's spirit with mere words. From childhood, Johan was the centerpiece of experiments at Kinderheim 511, a secret orphanage designed to train children into instruments of war. There, he was force-fed knowledge of psychology, power dynamics, strategy, and underground economics. This inhuman environment molded him into a monster in human form. Not long after, Johan stepped into the underworld as a true prodigy. At the age of 15, he was already running a vast underground banking network, specializing in money laundering and manipulating black market capital across Europe. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Johan exploited the despair of displaced officials and ruined businessmen, promising to restore their status through underground finance. He didn't need to use violence only to awaken the deepest fear and despair within the human mind, silently watching as his victims destroyed themselves. Thus, Johan was soon revered in the criminal underworld as a leader in the shadows, a man who manipulated not only money but also the souls of the desperate. Johan's mastery of psychological manipulation is absolute. He doesn't control people through force, but through subtle suggestions like, "Everyone hates you. This life is meaningless. You're a traitor." MC. Bit by bit, he plants thoughts in their minds until they believe those impulses are their own, leading them to commit suicide, murder, or rebellion. Sometimes, he doesn't even interact directly, instead using intermediaries to create a chain reaction of chaos, pushing entire communities into self-destruction. Johan is also a master of disguise. Living under multiple identities, each performed so flawlessly that no one ever suspected him. The climax of his manipulation came when he deceived even his own twin sister, Anna, leading her to pull the trigger and shoot him in the head. In conclusion, Johan Liebert possesses not only a genius-level intellect, but also the mind of a master manipulator, a being who makes anyone who faces him shudder in fear as he plants terror deep within their psyche. Lelouch v. Britannia. In the chaotic world of Code Geass, where the Holy Britannian Empire rules through sheer power and oppression, Lelouch emerges not merely as a rebel, but as a born strategist, a genius capable of reshaping the entire world through intellect and unwavering will. Lelouch's goal wasn't just to overthrow the Britannian Empire, but to avenge his mother's death and his sister Nunnally's suffering. Above all, he sought to build a world where Nunnally could live happily. When he gained the Geass, Lelouch turned it into the weapon to make that dream a reality. Under his masked identity as Zero, Lelouch led the Black Knights, a small resistance group that he transformed into a force capable of challenging the Britannian Empire itself. In every battle, even when cornered by overwhelming military might and advanced nightmare frames, Lelouch repeatedly overturned the odds through his tactical foresight and psychological manipulation. He wasn't just several moves ahead, he was entire games ahead of his opponents. Yet Lelouch's brilliance was not limited to battlefield strategy. It lay in his vision and his willingness to sacrifice everything for it. In his grand plan known as the Zero Requiem, Lelouch deliberately made himself the world's tyrant, the ultimate symbol of hatred, uniting humanity against a common enemy himself. And in the final act, before the eyes of all mankind, he accepted death at the hands of his closest friend, Suzaku, now donning the mask of Zero. That tragic death did not only erase the image of a ruthless tyrant, but also wiped away all hatred, ended the wars, and brought a final end to a world drenched in blood. Lelouch chose to become a devil in history, so that the world could move forward into an age without bloodshed. No one forced him to do it. No one demanded his death. Yet he bore that burden willingly for those he loved, for his sister Nunnally, and for all of humanity. In that moment, Lelouch became more than a strategist or a ruler. He became a symbol of intellect, courage, and the ultimate sacrifice, giving up one's honor, one's love, and even one's life to end the endless cycle of hatred. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos.